Chapter 16, Reading Room Design. While reading room design might not be something that comes to your mind as high importance when switching to a digital imaging environment, that really is far from the truth. When a reading room is poorly designed, it could drastically influence the interpretation speed and the accuracy, as well as on-the-job injuries such as headache, repetitive stress injuries, and fatigue. This chapter will educate you on design considerations that should be thought of in regards to radiologist reading. We will discuss all the reading room design challenges. So when working on the design of a reading room, it is essential to collaborate with a design team who is actually designing your space, and also for them to understand the specific physical components that affect reading space. It is important that the design team understands what actually happens in the reading room. They need to be made aware of the importance of the reading room and the activities that takes place in them. In the non-digital reading room world, radiologists could make their own changes easily and everything was fine. They could turn the lights down if they needed to or modify their work environment any way they needed, but modifications are harder to make in the digital reading room now. It is important to think of room design before the construction is planned because once construction is finished, it is often hard to make any modifications to the room. It is also important for the radiologist to know what they want and to be unified in their decision. In other words, they all need to talk to each other and explain what they want in a reading room and come to a common consensus, especially when there are multiple radiologists involved. So if you were designing a reading room, the first thing you need to think about is you need to determine your preferred reading room environment. You need to think about visual and acoustic privacy. But remember, the rads still need to be able to collaborate with coworkers. There needs to be a balance with visual and acoustic privacy, because if you completely satisfy one of the categories, it will negatively affect the other. You may want to think about the possibility of dividing a generally larger room into smaller subdivisions. This can be done with furniture, but make sure it is with furniture that is designed for radiologist reading use. This usually means adjustable furniture. We'll get into that a little later. Remember that each work area can accommodate a variety of individuals collaborating together with enough space. As a norm, you would want to create enough space for 1 to 2 radiologists to be sitting at a workstation with enough of an area for 4 to 6 individuals to be standing as well occasionally in the area. Room configuration and orientation of workspaces within the room are also key components in room enclosure. Placing the workstations along the room's walls or perimeter requires the least amount of space, but also the least amount of acoustic and lighting control. In contrast, if the workstations are placed in the center of the room, it takes up more space, but the rads end up having more control over the lighting and acoustics, so again, a balance is necessary. Also remember that if a clinician is viewing images outside of the reading room, say in the ER, it is important only the necessary people involved with the patient's care can see the images, so make sure the workstation placement is HIPAA compliant. Lighting is the single most important design consideration for a reading room. Improper lighting can leave the rads in a not so pleasant mood. It can also result in them having headache and fatigue, as well as making for suboptimal image quality. Each workstation area should have its own lighting control functions so the radiologist can tailor them to how they please. And they should also be dimming light switches so they have more options than on or off. No fluorescent lights should be used since they can cause flickering. Instead, use the incandescent, halogen, or LED lights. There are 2 different types of lighting that are necessary in reading rooms: the dimmable ambient lighting and supplemental task lighting. Dimming ambient lighting provides low levels of evenly distributed background illumination for image interpretation, and supplemental task lighting should be narrowly focused. It is usually mounted to workstations or it is a portable fixture as well. Revealing glare is the reflection of light sources on the monitor surface. Of course, this should be kept to a minimum, and just know that flat panel monitors have less glare than the cathode ray tubes do. It is a misconception that radiologist reading rooms should always be really dark. Room illumination should be about equal to the illumination of the reading monitor. So this means that when new monitors come available, and remember they have a higher illumination output level then the room's ambient lighting should increase with that as well. Acoustics have always played a large role in reading rooms, but it has even greater importance now that speech recognition software is used in readings and interpretations. There are two types of sound that should be addressed: noise and discernible conversations. With noise, this is usually from computers and anything in the room. It's a negative impact on speech recognition. Then there are discernible conversations. This makes concentration on reading the images difficult for the radiologist, and it also negatively affects the reading speed and accuracy because it can pick up on those background conversations. And just like I discussed in the room enclosure slide, it is important when you place a workstation outside of the reading room, like in the ER, where conversations may be had regarding the patient and their images. Make sure the conversations can't be overheard, and also make sure they're HIPAA compliant. Acoustics can be controlled and affected by sound-absorbing materials for the wall, ceiling, and floor. The ceiling is one surface with the greatest impact on sound transmission, so its configuration, construction, and material composition are highly important. Obviously, radiologists have a very repetitive job where they sit in one position and read cases over and over. This can increase stress-related injuries, which is why it is so important for the reading room to be ergonomically designed. Furniture needs to be adjustable since many times more than one radiologist uses the same workstation and chair. Adjustable furniture means it can work for all shapes and sizes. Even if there's only one person using a workstation, having the ability to adjust the furniture can reduce fatigue. Keep in mind 3 points of contact when designing a reading room. They are where the eyes meet the monitor, where the hands and fingers contact the input device, like the keyboard, and where the body rests against the chair. Radiologists should consider reading in a combination of positions such as standing, seated, and reclining. Eye problems can result from poor lighting and improper distance from eye to monitor. And the room should accommodate future developments, such as projecting images into a wall or surface or another monitor. So regarding connectivity of the reading room, make sure the cables and wires are organized. Make sure they aren't scattered all over the place because it can be a distraction, and also it can be a trip hazard as well. Thermal comfort can influence an individual's ability to work efficiently. Try to provide individual controls for each workstation regarding the temperature and airflow volume. That way each radiologist can set them him or herself. Some furniture even has these options built into them.